Single-player AAA games are rarely made these days, and what we have had has been really disappointing, with only a handful standing out as good. So when I heard a new Mafia game was coming out, I had to get it, as Mafia 1 and 2 are some of my favourite games of all time. Is the latest instalment a return to form, or a failed project like Mafia 3? Well, sit back, relax, and welcome to my review of Mafia: The Old Country. Mafia: The Old Country is the fifth game in the series and is once again developed by Hangar 13, who gave us the brilliant Mafia Definitive Edition, and is published by 2K Games. Old Country was released on the 8th of August 2025 and is on PS5, Xbox Series X and PC. The game is a new release, so this will be a spoiler-free review. The Mafia games have always provided a powerful, gritty rollercoaster story, even the black sheep of the series Mafia 3. And I'm happy to say, Old Country is also great in the story department. It could even be the best story in the series. The setting here is Sicily, Italy, in 1904. We play Enzo Fafero, who grew up in a poor family. We don't know much about Enzo's mother, but we do learn his father sold him to a businessman named Ruggero Spadaro to pay off his debts. Enzo would be made to work in one of the sulphur mines in the town of Catania, Sicily. As if Enzo's childhood wasn't bad enough, he witnessed a terrible accident in the mines and decided, now being a young man, it's time for him to try and escape this terrible life. While attempting this, he's chased by Spadaro's men. This chase ends with Enzo finding his way onto private property, where Spadaro's men have caught him up. Then just when Enzo thought he was done for, some figures come out of the shadows, and a man asks, "Who and what are we doing there?" This is Mafia boss Don Teresi. After Enzo explains his situation to the Don offers him a better life while working for him and his family. He accepts. After some time, Enzo eventually proves his worth to the Don and begins to understand the world he is now involved in. You see, Old Sicily has four big Mafia families: the Teresis, the Spadaros, the Galantes, and the Fontarellas, all with their own money-making empires, and all having promised a treaty agreement going back decades. But that peace is about to burst. Waving into the main plot, we have a very interesting love interest for Enzo, Don Teresi's daughter, Isabella. This will become a big part of the plot. That's the basic outline without ruining the story. It may sound like a Mafia story that's been told pretty much plenty of times, and you're right, but it's the way it's told here and put together in the Old Country. Just like the Mafia 1 and Mafia 2 characters here are fantastic and have tons of personality, and the voice acting is some of the best I've ever heard. We even get some familiar faces for us long-term Mafia fans, like Leo Galante, a major crime figure in Mafia 2 that Vito helps escape Empire Bay, and there's Giuseppe, the all-round get-you-anything guy, and of course, he's the best safecracker there is, also from Mafia 2. And we get to see Sam from Mafia 1 as a 10-year-old boy. Their inclusions here is brilliant, as this is an origin story, seeing how Mafia began, so it's nice to see how they started out. Really nice touch. Let's check out the gameplay. Mafia: The Old Country was not what I was expecting when it comes to gameplay, as firstly, there's hardly any here, yet You heard me right, guys. Let me explain. You'll sit through a lengthy cutscene, then take control of Enzo only to realise now you're in a walking or horse riding section, slow to a crawl with more in-game dialogue. Then when you finally get to play, gameplay consists of lots of stealth sections, repeated multiple times. Once or twice would be okay, but every stealth section feels exactly the same here. Get from one end of the stage to the other, into another long cutscene. Of course, the other main sections are gunfights, which I actually like. They play similar to the previous Mafia games. Cover-based shooting in a small sandbox area. Problem is, every gunfight is also always very similar. There'd be way too much cover around, so it's almost impossible to get killed. The areas are way smaller than the ones in Mafia 1 and 2, and most of them all end the same, with a new feature to the series here, a knife fight like a boss encounter. Another big issue is these sections are so short, gunning down a small group of bandits or rival mobs, lasting around 10 to 20 minutes, and the opposite for the stealth parts. They often go on far too long and become a chore rather than a challenge. The Mafia games, while linear, have always had a good variety in level design, with areas being distinctive from each other, but Old Country's level design is just bland for the most part. There are some highlight moments, but there's just not much meat on the bone here, and not enough gameplay in general. The only other thing to mix it gameplay up here is some scripted driving sections, and they're just okay, not exciting like the ones in Mafia 1 and 2, which were way more creative and challenging. The knife fights I mentioned earlier are actually very good. I wouldn't say they're in depth, but well done. You can slash, parry, stab, dodge, and I really like how you're shown the mechanics of the knife fights by practicing with a character in the game. So well implemented overall. The last thing I wanted to mention on the gameplay is on certain chapters you're able to pick either a horse or a car to drive you to the destination, or the game will just give you a car as part of the story beat. And while the horses are a nice addition, suiting the old Sicily scene, it's once again the cars that are the most fun here. For anyone that played Mafia Definitive Edition, remember how good they felt in those remakes? Well, they're even better here, a definite highlight of the Old Country. They're all very authentic to the time period. It's that classic Mafia game style, part arcade, part realistic feel, right down to the cars conking out if they take too much damage. And driving through the breathtaking backdrop of Sicily, hearing the crunch of the rocks and the gravel under the car's wheel, is a real treat. There's a good selection of guns here. Pistols, shotguns and rifles are all here, and all have a good weighty feel and kick to them. Guns can be picked up from fallen enemies or brought from various locations in the game. This is done by looting enemies for an in-game currency. As well as the guns, cars, horses, knives, costumes can all be bought too. Enzo also has a necklace that charms can be bought for. These charms act as a sort of upgrade system. It's not very in depth, but better aiming, more ammo when looting, that sort of thing. I didn't use it much to be honest, but it's a nice thing to have. The soundtrack here is good. Most of the gunfights use it well, and I especially like the main game theme. While riding or driving around, the game also uses environmental sounds to bring a realism to the game, and it's great. Graphics are a real high standard, with facial details so realistic in cutscenes, and the world's environments, cars, weapons, all looking great. Mafia the Old Country has 3 difficulties: easy, medium and hard. Hard mode explains exactly what changes have taken place, like less health and ammo when looting enemies, and enemies are more aggressive. Some other modern games do this as well, and I really like it. Keeping in line with the rest of the series, we have an explore mode here, where you can roam around in search of collectibles, and you have a map in the pause menu to help you explore. Now, I've heard other content creators saying there's nothing to do in this mode, like side quests, shooting people, stealing cars, and no, you can't do any of this in Mafia. Mafia's explore mode has always been about driving around, having fun, finding all the collectibles out in this small world, just for a bit of extra content, as the main focus is the Mafia story mode. So don't be expecting a GTA or Red Dead Redemption open world here, as it's not that sort of game. Okay, time for my final thoughts. Mafia the Old Country feels like an interactive movie for the most part, having you sit through long cutscenes and way too many stealth gameplay sections that mostly feel like filler. Underneath the amazing cinematic story told here, there isn't much gameplay as mentioned earlier. Gameplay can be fun at times, like the gunfights and driving around, but the fact is, this game is pretty bare bones, and for me, doesn't reach the heights of fan favourites Mafia 1 and 2. So for the Mafia series fans out there, I'd say pick this up, but at a price drop, as it's worth experience the great story here, but for everyone else, I wouldn't say it's a must play, and it pains me to say that, being a huge Mafia fan. But, as always, this is my honest opinion, guys. Well, if you enjoyed this review, please consider subscribing, and also thank you to everyone who is already currently supporting the channel. It means a lot to me. Take care, and I'll see you all on the next one.